This is my current favorite YouTube thumbnail. Or maybe it's this one. Ah well, they're both nice. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Saladino.
It's more interesting. It's the right thing to do, and I think the stories that come out of it are also, they're more original.
I actually wanted to call this video Stillborn, but that's probably too much for YouTube. BBC News. No one forced us to make a game with a diverse cast. I'm calling DUSTBORN the death of woke because it should be. DUSTBORN, we're just at the start of letting games expand boundaries. BBC News.
Are you sure about that?
Hello, my name is Dominique Tipper and I play Pax in DUSTBORN.
And my name is Ragnar Tornquist. I am a creative director at Red Thread Games and game director and writer on DUSTBORN.
I play Pax in DUSTBORN. She's the kind of person that you play in the game and you're following her story. And she is what you call an anomal. It means that she has this kind of power where she can weaponize and use her words.
Those are my words. From my letter. You used my words?
No more. It means that she has this kind of...
Look at her shoulders.
Hype beast highly likely to bite me and try to high-five me, but I just give them high threes, cause y'all don't get to touch me on the shit, sue me if you...
Dominique Tipper is a good-looking woman. And she's not built like a dude.
You mentioned how America is a bit of a melting pot there, and you've got a very diverse array of characters. There's a lot of focus in the industry at the moment on making sure that characters that do come from different backgrounds are kind of authentically represented. How have you approached that challenge with DUSTBORN?
That's an interesting question because, as you probably know, like there are a lot of gamers in the world who are unhappy with games that have characters who don't necessarily look like gaming characters used to look 10, 20, 30 years ago.
You see what that Ragnar asshole just did? So the BBC guy asked him about how their studio, how Ragnar's studio, made sure to portray these diverse characters authentically. Because, that's one of the main BS things these activists are always pushing for. You can't just be, some small Finnish game studio who's interested in Native American culture and history, and you just want to make a game set in, the 1700s or the 1600s, and you're in America, and you're Indians running around doing your thing. You can't just do that. You can't make that game, be Finnish, do research, research online, read books. You can't do that. You have to go and hire one of Sitting Bull's ancestors or something in order to be considered authentic, in order to be able to be white, Finnish, and do a game set in America in the late 1500s or whatever, right? And this Ragnar weasel, he makes the question about gamers not liking diversity, already setting up this victim-savior narrative. It's crazy how he did that. They know this shit isn't popular, but they do it anyway, and they justify it by acting like they're curing cancer or something.
We really set out to create a cast of characters that just feel like a representation of the world as it is today and America as it is. It's diverse. It's not just filled with people who look like me. And that's also why we've sort of tapped into the cast we have.
Feels like a representation of the world as it is today. No, it doesn't. It feels like a representation of Tumblr. You look at this collection of freaks and it's like, okay, so you already have an ugly, mannish, angry-looking black lesbian who is in a relationship with a non-binary trans person. That already makes no sense. You can't be both non-binary and trans. Except, for these idiots, you can be trans if you think you're the opposite sex, but then also be non-binary if you use they-them pronouns. Those two characters, alone, That should have been where this diversity ended with the game. The rest of the cast should have just been normal and attractive in varying degrees, and that should have been that. But no, that's the problem with this woke shit, and why I don't really believe that Dustborn is the end of woke, because these people don't have anything else. They're called tourists because they're supposedly fans of video games and comics and anime and all this geek stuff, but they're always complaining about the tropes in these hobbies. They hate fan service, they hate strong male characters, and they're constantly trying to change the sexuality and gender of characters to fit their own stupid-ass headcanon. I did a video a while back about a woman who was mad at the male manga fans who only care about lore and power levels, as opposed to headcanon and gay fan fiction or whatever it is she was obsessed with. These people are not just tourists. These people are invaders. Their hobby isn't the comic or the game or the anime. Their hobby is attacking those things and their fans, particularly straight white male fans.
What can I do for you this time, man?
You mentioned that you don't engage with the negativity, and there is a lot of that online. On the flip side of that is that stories that do make diverse casts more prominent actually, when they mean a lot to other people who aren't kicking off about it. Has anyone already got in touch with you more along those lines?
Not with Dustborn yet. I think maybe when it's out and a bit more out in the world, that will happen. But
yeah, no, I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. Dustborn is a massive failure. This stuff is completely out of touch with what anyone wants. Even the cancel pigs who do nothing all day but complain about Black Myth Wukong's success or Acolyte's failure don't buy these stupid-ass games. They don't play these games, especially Dustborn. I mean, it looks like a parody of everything gamers complain about with this woke shit. Even woke SJWs are tired of this shit. It's the video game version of that New Warriors comic that never got published because the entire internet, gamers, chuds, cancel pigs alike, all hated it. Those stupid characters all look like they were making fun of the Twitter and Tumblr crowd. Just like Dustborn does. You look at the comments in a lot of these videos showcasing Dustborn, and one of the main things most people say is, this is Tumblr the game. Like I said, it was already enough to have an angry black woman protagonist in a game. These days especially, that's actually asking too much. But these idiots made the whole crew not just diverse, but freakish. I don't care how it sounds, but nobody wants to play a game with a trans, non-binary character with a robot arm in it. And of course, he or she, I don't even know, has a robot arm. Because you have to have someone with a disability. Then you have the fat girl with vitiligo. So it's not enough that she's fat. They have to give her vitiligo too. And then in some scenes, you see this Asian woman. She's got one eye. So she's got this, I don't know, glass eye or robot eye. And she's Asian. It's like, it's just too much. If they really wanted this stuff to go over, they would do it organically. They would pick and choose their spots. They would pick a struggle. And they would try to make these people more appealing. But they just dump this shit all in one pile and act like it's the gamer's job to like these characters. A big part of it is that they don't think they're actually doing anything unless they can virtue signal about it. It's not actual political action if they can't make a show of what they're doing. If it's not obvious to even a 3-year-old what it is that they're trying to say. They really want to be seen as social justice warriors. They really think a fat girl with vitiligo in a game about a bunch of Tumblr rejects riding around Trump's America is combating all of the ists and phobes in the world. But you can't force people to play your game. That's the dumbest thing about activists in this space. Sure, you can get yourself hired at Rocksteady and you can then decide to uglify Harlequin. But you can't force gamers to buy the game. They'll be pissed that you messed up a beloved franchise and nerfed Harley's tits and ass. That ass. But you can't keep your stupid ass studio from shutting down. You're not owning the chuds by saving them money, you morons. And you're making it cool to be called a racist, sexist, and transphobe.
Hi. Hello. Hi, officer.
I think there's kind of a bit of a misunderstanding on the part of some players. You mentioned there's some gamers that do get a bit upset when they see maybe people who don't look like game characters used to. There's often suggestion that these things are kind of forced in. Where do you sort of sit on that?
Yeah, people say that we sort of like we've been forced to have a diverse guy. I wonder who forced us to do that, because it's definitely I wasn't aware of that.
He makes this crack about, I wonder who's forcing us to do that. But there's an entire culture, dude, surrounding you in game development that's forcing you to do that. You have games journos, you have the Twitterati, you have the Tumblr sociopaths, you have just people in social media who don't care about this stuff, whose job it is simply to look at something they don't like and then complain about it and then pressure devs to make changes or to stay away from certain subject matter. You have people in the industry, activists in the industry, who are constantly canceling one another, forcing out straight white men because of, oh, he liked women's asses and he made inappropriate comments to some woman and I heard about it and I don't like it. So that's kind of like forcing you to do it. I mean, if you look at the Hogwarts Legacy boycott, it wasn't just activists in social media. It was actual games journalists telling Warner Brothers to cancel the game. If they had listened to them, they would have missed out on the biggest game of 2023. Now, of course, listening to people like that, listening to these activist journals and activists in the industry helped negate the success of Hogwarts Legacy because, you know, they hired Sweet Baby Inc. to work on Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. And so that was a massive failure and it hurt the success of Hogwarts Legacy. It's so stupid. But even when you come down to who's forcing us to do that, that's not even what a lot of people are saying. People are talking about you forcing diversity into these games. You didn't have to make every member of this stupid band look like this person created them. You know this shit is not popular, but you're deliberately being obtuse as to why it isn't popular.
I mean, I think publishers and developers are just understanding more of that there's a wider and more diverse audience out there. Games are becoming more global. Games are becoming more accessible to everyone, and that means the audience changes. Unfortunately, there is pushback. I mean, it's very few people, but those people are unfortunately very loud and angry and upset. But, you know.
When he says they're very loud and upset and angry, that's what keeps this going. That's why woke isn't dead yet. Again, framing it as a bunch of angry white men who get upset at diversity makes this something that you have to keep fighting, or you feel pressured to keep fighting if you're one of these large corporations or if you're one of these developer studios worried about being canceled or worried about being seen as a no good shit or something like that. But if they really thought that it was about people not wanting to see diversity, they would make that diversity more appealing. Look, Black Myth Wukong, which is for the kids, has been under attack for nearly a year, thanks to IGN and all the other gaming outlets that repeated their fake allegations of sexism. Meanwhile, you have DUSTBORN, which checks and double checks every DEI and ESG box imaginable. Both Wukong and DUSTBORN came out on the same day. And oh look.
Oh my God!
As far as the audience changing, well, how's that going for you?
We're breaking the law, breaking the world together, throwing out all tenderness. We're breaking the